it is so important to be at the inception. It's easier to design securely, build securely, than to come back and try and retrofit security into something.
Welcome back, everyone, for another episode of the Ship Safely podcast. I'm your host, Sebastian, and today we're joined by the one and only Matt, who's a security architect at Li.FI. If you don't know already, Li.FI is one of the leading universal liquidity layers that is trusted by more than 1,000 enterprises. Wow. And it unlocks unified market access to digital assets. Matt himself has over a decade of experience across traditional infosec and also crypto. And he's had roles at checkout.com, Nationwide, Telstra, and now Li.FI. And here he's helping build secure infrastructure for the multi-chain future. Matt, it's great to have you here.
Yeah, it's really good to be here.
Awesome. So the first question I always ask all of our guests is, what do you hope people will take from this interview, and why should they stick around and listen?
So, Web3 security is such an important topic. You just have to look at all of the recent hacks and all of the recent losses in the industry. But I think Web3 security needs to start looking at web security from a more holistic point of view. This is something that TradFi banking has solved a long time ago, and I think it's an important topic to have. Maybe we need to talk about the boring things in security a bit more and the exciting side of Web3.
100%. No, those are very, very good tips for, I think like all the projects in this space. To start, the series of questions, we always like to know more about you. You worked across traditional financial security and also Web3. And I'm interested, what drew you to this, problem space Li.FI is solving?
So I think it's the challenge of bringing old world ways to a new world and adapting it to that new world as well. Learning about smart contract security and Web3 security, it's such an interesting field, but I think as a whole, the industry also, like I said, needs to look at the way TradFis work. And especially now, when I looked at Web3, I've always said this, traditional infrastructure and traditional finance is an unlocked market, or a market that needs to be unlocked. So we need to start looking at how they do things so we can start interacting with them on a more holistic level.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like I also had this feeling lately, especially this year going to conferences, that traditional financial institutions are slowly, you know, I think like last year they were dipping their toes, and this year they're like more, you know, knee deep into the space. But still, like there's a lot that needs to be learned on both sides when it comes to how to work together, and especially when it comes to security. Like I think that the difference is so jarring when it comes to risks and mitigating them, that like there's a wide gap, as you mentioned in the beginning. But for
Yeah,
those, oh yeah, go ahead.
I'm saying there's a huge gap. We're fundamentally trying to do the same things in very different ways with very different sort of controls behind it. And you
Yeah,
can't go from TradFi to Web3 without acknowledging that Web3 has differences, and you can't go the other way without acknowledging those differences as
yeah,
well.
yeah. That's 100% correct. And just wanted to say that some of our viewers might not be familiar with Li.FI and what makes this sort of like cross-chain aggregation so uniquely hard to secure. Would you be able to put it in a nutshell?
Yeah, so it's not so much hard to secure, it's more we face different challenges in the bridges because, and I as an aggregator, as a liquidity, as we said before, it just represents different challenges because we have to build the security in our layer, so all the people that use LI.FI are secure, but we also have to look at who we interact with and what their security posture is. So we can't just rely on their security posture. We have to build it in from the ground up on what we do as well and make sure that we've got controls in place to make sure anyone who works with LI.FI is secure and they can know that they're secure. And I think that is a real value add to anyone who works with us as well, is we have such a good security posture that they can feel comfortable working with us because we've put in those hard yards as well and put controls in to make sure that our clients are safe.
That's a perfect segue to my next question, which is what does Li-Fi security stack look like today? Can you walk us through how you're approaching things?
Yeah, so we run a very much a defense in depth security stack here from having strong CDNs at the front end with strong WAF protections, rate limiting in multiple areas. We also are always improving our Web2 security and Web3 security posture. We have very tight controls on our smart contracts. Every small change is audited. Everything is looked at. And this is something that we build through our entire organization. If we build the security mentality through all of our engineers and through all of our staff. So everyone thinks securely when they're building. And I think that's such an important level and an important thing for all organizations is you can have the biggest security team, but if you don't have a security mentality within your organization, things will slip. Um, and again, speaking of the boring things, like getting proper security, like getting a good EDR on your laptops, it doesn't sound exciting, but it's such a key layer of security.
Yeah, that sounds like a pretty holistic approach. One thing which I'm not sure you've mentioned, and I would be interested in, exploring, is the dependency risk, third-party dependencies. We've seen like so many bridges and aggregators run into problems lately with this kind of third-party dependency risk, and I was wondering how you approach that and how do you manage that risk?
Yeah, so there's two parts to that. There's the proactive and the reactive. We have tooling in place which automatically checks and makes sure that our supply chain is always secure. So we use market leaders like Aikido to look at our supply chain, and they will send alerts through as soon as anything comes up. We then react on that. Then there's the more reactive side, which is your sort of threat monitoring that you do as a security team, where you're always plugged into threat feeds, looking at what the new things are. And this is where I can say I'm really proud of the team here at LI.FI is I will often see as I'm finding out about something that one of our developers is like, "Hey, I found this. Let's work on this and get this resolved as soon as possible." And like that's a real win to me, and I think that's a real show of strength within the organization that people are thinking about this and really moving forward with it.
Is And do you guys have something like continuous fuzzing or any kind of like tooling integrated in your CI/CD pipeline that always checks new commits automatically or does campaigns?
Yeah, so we do have a code analysis within our CI platforms. Everything that goes through has to pass the security, not just a sort of normal testing, unit testing. Like, we have a very rigorous testing suite, but you also have to pass the security tests. And that's everything that goes forward. And like nothing goes through without being properly checked and rechecked.
That's a pretty solid pipeline. What's cooking at Li-Fi right now? What are you most excited about? Anything that you can share today?
Well, we've just launched Intense, and that's super exciting. Like, we have so many new, I can't say exactly what, but yeah, we have so many new exciting products which will be coming out in the next 6 months. I can't say too much. I don't want to jump the gun here. But yeah, we're always integrating new bridges and dexes. It's just so many big things in the near future.
Sounds exciting. I won't, try to get more out of it since it's top secret for now. But you mentioned integrating other bridges. When you do, that selection of which bridges to integrate, I'm guessing you do like a lot of due diligence also on the technical and the security side. And I wanted to ask you, where do you think bridge security is going next? Are we getting better as an industry? I mean, the Web3 industry, or just
I
just
think
learning the same lessons in different new wrappers?
I think it's a bit of both. I am seeing more maturity in the industry now. There are some people who really are working in the right way. The Web3 world will always have a bit of the rogue security players, but that's more at the smaller side. Your larger teams are now taking it a lot more serious, and the Web3 side of security maturity is really coming along nicely. And I'm
Yeah,
seeing that across multiple protocols, multiple different people that we interact with within the industry. Like it's
yeah,
really positive to see that the industry is moving forward.
definitely, definitely. I have the same feeling, but once in a while, you also see the opposite. With
Yeah, but I
sometimes.
think if we're honest, this isn't just a Web3 problem. Any startup, you'll see the ones that have their heads screwed on, and then occasionally you'll just be like, "What are you doing, man?" Like,
Yes, yes.
and
Do you think? Oh, go ahead.
yeah, I think Web3 is much more security aware than some other startup sort of worlds. It's just the world that we live in.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, Going to the following question, which is a bit, on a different topic. But since you're in security and have been in security for a long time, I wanted to ask you this. Do you think security teams in this web free space are getting enough visibility early in the product life cycle when they should be interacting with a project?
Again, I maybe not originally, but it's definitely the way that the industry's going. As you're getting more shift left on security, so you're more at inception, and you see that in the maturity of what's being released these days. This is something that I'm really proud of LI.FI. It's always been there. Like that security mindset in engineering's always been there. And it is so important to be at the inception. It's easier to design securely, build securely, than to come back and try and retrofit security into something.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're down to the rapid closeout of this episode. So I'm gonna kindly ask if you can answer in one sentence.
Yep.
First question. What's one outdated security myth that you're still hearing in Web3 today?
I audited my contracts and that's enough.
That's a good one. That's a good. I didn't know
It's,
that's already like a myth, but yeah, yeah,
yeah, it's auditing is super important and it's such a critical step, but security is like the most important thing in security is depth of security.
yeah,
And I'm not
100%.
saying don't audit your contracts. I'm saying audit everything, but have more than audit across your
Yeah,
organization.
yep. That's super important. That's what I also try to tell our customers that security doesn't start and it doesn't end with an audit. It's
Yeah.
just something that you do at one point in time.
Yep.
What's one tool or one practice that's made the biggest difference for your team in the past year?
We've implemented a new SAST and DAST and supply chain tool, and that, from what I've seen, has significantly reduced the noise and increased the quality of the automated checks which are being done. Open source tools like Trivia are great, but they can be quite noisy.
It's a good one. We have a question from our previous guest, um, and he asked, what do you think is the most elegant design that you've seen and he mentioned on Solana. Now, you could mention maybe some other chain if you don't know one
Yeah,
elegant one on Solana, but whatever you prefer.
it's just because I'm a hardware nerd. So like, if you look at my history in network security, it's Helium. I love that decentralizing the mobile space and rewarding people for decentralizing that. Like I just love that side of the world, and it really tickles my network engineering background.
Yeah, no, that's such a cool use case. I agree. Um, do you want to leave a question for our next guest?
Yeah, so what's the boring part of security that you think Web3 needs to focus on the most?
It's a good one. So there you have it, folks. Thanks again, Matt. Can you tell everyone where they can find you or read more about Li-Fi? I don't know if you want to be contacted directly via X or Telegram, but feel free to leave any socials either for yourself
Yeah,
or for Li-Fi.
so best one to track is our X, and all our socials are on LI.FI. So follow our socials, follow what's happening. So much exciting is coming out, I think. Following us on
Nice.
socials, you'll really see some exciting things.
There you have it, folks. Super exciting stuff coming from LI.FI. Check it out. Thanks again, Matt, for being on. It was a pleasure having you.
Thanks for that, and it was great to be here.